surely. But that was an incredible score by Kate, actually, wasn't it? I mean, she did a great song at the end, and she just scored the whole thing.
Yes, she did. Yeah. A lot of work.
And this came before, obviously, you worked with her on Les Dogs and so forth. So, is this the first time? This is the first time you worked with her?
No, I did a promo for her at one of her tracks off The Essential World. We've built a forest and we've built a wood in Pinewood. So that's how I started. She asked me to do some work with her, directing and promos.
And on Friday we were talking about, we went right back to the beginning, we talked about the comic strip, how it was all created, we had Alexi here, we had Nigel here, but we didn't have obviously two very key components to that. And I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit from your point of view about how you became part of the comic strip project.
We were the women.
That seemed important at the time.
And you were already, you were an existing double act at that point, were you?
Were we?
Yes, we were.
Well, by the time we started the films, definitely we were. But when we joined the comic strip, which was, live on stage, we invented the double act to be part of the comic strip at the beginning, really.
Because there was a Julian Temple pilot in 1981.
Yes.
And at that point, you were already had been performing together for, I don't know, a number of years.
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah, we've been on stage at the comic strip, haven't we?
Literally about 3 months by the time we did that. I mean, we'd done something at college together, but by the time we'd been at the comic strip, I think that happened quite soon, didn't it?
It was about. I think you came in January, and I think we filmed that about July.
So we'd been performing about 4 months.
I think that was the first time.
Probably
I think
looked like it.
we are elderly, so I can't remember exactly. But I think that was the first time I'd ever been in front of a camera. Was the Julian Temple film?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. We made lots of mistakes then.
So bearing that in mind, this actually, probably for all of you to an extent, was quite a learning curve and actually quite a good grounding in what was, in terms of your acting and comedic timing and working behind, seeing how it works behind the camera, all of those things. I guess you were learning on the job, weren't you?
I think completely. I mean, we had no experience of it, and the experience we had was so great because we felt we didn't realise we weren't supposed to be involved in every single aspect. So we were just very nosy and.
I think Five Good Mad Daughter was our first one, really, that we sort of got to feel what was going on, how the film was made, really, wasn't it? We used to laugh about the names of all the lights. We need a blonde on the landing and a redhead in the bedroom. And then we going, this is all names of lights, So it's all kind of, we were just around this whole film jargon that started.
Yeah, we were very inexperienced. Well, you were more experienced. You seemed very more experienced.
Well, I've done a lot of late novel stuff. I did the late novel stuff.
There's a lot to be said for not knowing that you can't do something, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Nobody said that we couldn't write a film, so we did write films. Nobody said that we couldn't produce them or that we couldn't have a kind of favoured nation situation where we were all paid the same and we had the same power, obviously Pete a bit more, but because he was the founder of the whole thing. But when nobody tells you that there's a limitation, there's no limitation.
I mean, we didn't even know we had to have makeup. We were so surprised. He said, "Come down, we're going to make a film," and we literally either stayed at your mum's house or
that's right.
We shared bunk beds. Tom and I had bunk beds in a little cottage in Hope Cove, and people said, "You'll be in makeup." I went, makeup. It was just a very cool learning experience.
I'd just like to say on the record how, I'm watching those two films. I haven't seen them for 30 years. How brilliant Dawn and Jennifer are, and not only in those two films, but all the comics we've done. They've played so many.
Thank you, Pete, but we've already slept with you. You don't have to do that anymore.
Have you seen me again?
We haven't.
And in terms of, obviously this ensemble was created as an acting ensemble, but actually more than that because you were making the films as well. How did that work in terms of when you, obviously the Consuelo was one of the ones that you created, the two of you. How does that work? Is there a little committee you have to go and pitch it to, or are you just talking about it around the table? I mean, how,
little committee we had to pitch it to.
Well, I went to Channel 4 and did made the first pitch, really, about the fact we didn't want to just do a sitcom with the same characters each week, but these people were so good they could do anything, and changed each week to something from heavy metal band to Famous Five to something else. And as you've just seen from those two films, I mean, Dawn plays about 4 parts in the strike. The old lady getting kicked out of the thing, there's a lot. But so
and Hunchback, don't forget that.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Your credits of your filmography is one of some of the highlights.
But so I mean, we tried to. It was a group thing, and also it was. I mean, I was sort of leading the charge in terms of getting the series up going, and.
You were also much more serious about the writing. You and Pete
we
wrote
like
much
stories.
more
We
than
like
the
writing
rest of us
stories.
did.
I think that's the thing that Pete and I did. We were into stories, and I think that was our strength really.
Yeah, but we didn't really ever argue. I don't think about the parts or anything. I think it was clear when the writing was happening who would play what, and we didn't particularly mind.
So they were being cast as they were written, were they?
Partly, I think partly we think, so-and-so could do this, Dawn could do that, whatever. And we tried to sort of vary the roles as well, so that they weren't playing the same person. I think that's right, isn't it? I think
different lipstick.
And you'd be playing old an old woman in Susie for us.
Oh yes, no, I forgot. Oh yeah, no, that was fun.
So you're playing Nigel's mother. That was, so when you were about 22.
One of the things we touched on Friday was this sort of sense of there being, even though it's a TV commission and there is some budget available, there was a sort of guerrilla filmmaking kind of element to it, not in terms of the way that you took it very seriously, but you didn't have big budgets and you weren't kind of getting licenses for filming everywhere, and probably weren't all the sort of health and safety people on the set you might have now.
Certainly not.
What are these health and safety people you keep talking about?
Exactly.
No, tell them how you managed the shot going.
I've already done that.
You've done that. All right.
Yeah, but not when you were. Okay, but also, I mean, I was thinking about things like, I mean, you were talking about how in the Fistful of Travellers checks, it obviously wasn't directly on the set, but there was
We had the most extraordinary time on that film because we all went out to Almeria, and I think for the first 4 or 5 days we were not called because our characters weren't needed, and so we had a little villa that we were sharing, and we go to the beach. It was great and wonderful. Not called late, had late mornings. And then there was one particular morning where we were called. It was the first time we were, so we had to get up early, and it was my job to kind of wake us up. So I woke up in the morning and I sat up in my bed, and it was as if somebody'd hit me with a saucepan, and I just thought, oh, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I can't get up. And I crawled on the floor to Jennifer's bedroom and just shouting for Jennifer, and she was also very poorly, and in fact we were being slowly poisoned by a gas leak in this house, and if we had not had that early morning call, I don't think we'd be here. I don't think we'd be here. I mean, it was extraordinary. There was no fault of the filming for once. No. But
the town had no phone. Filming. We were in a small town, had no phone at all, no landline. It was like,
we did feel ill.
We did. But the doctor came and told us to go to the beach for the day, and we just moved house. That was how we solved things. But we were talking the other day. I was talking with Pete about risks that we took, including Robbie on the cob and whatever, however safe Pete might have thought it was.
I felt my sister going through the same waves actually.
Did you?
Yes, it wasn't that bad.
But I got knocked over once, and the film with the American guys in the big. Oh, it was a Famous Five film. Yes, I think it might have been the second one.
The bike had no brakes on it, you said.
Yeah, my bike had no brakes, did quite a lot of going downhill. There was quite a...
I imagine if there had been a health and safety person, they probably would have checked the brakes, wouldn't they?
They might have, yeah. I remember saying to Pete with tears in my eyes, it hasn't got any brakes, I can't go down the hill. This bike is trying to mate with me. And I was like, with a boy's bike with a crossbar, and I'm a girl with short legs.
That's why you have one leg now.
This afternoon, we've obviously just watched Strike and GLC, which is a sort of the start of this, I guess it's a sort of trilogy, because you've got Church of the Hollywood Years, which is coming on this evening. But can you remember where the idea for Strike came from originally?
Yeah, it was a line in a film called Eat the Rich we did. And I remember just thinking, actually, that's a funny idea, we should do that. So it was just one line, and it wrote itself in a way.
What was the line, Pete? Can you remember?
Which, how about Al Pacino's Arthur Scargill? Someone's just saying that, for Strike. And I think that suddenly mushroomed into an idea of doing a glamorous film of the miners' strike.
And this one was longer. It was an hour. You gave it. It had a sort of semi-theatrical release as well.
Yeah, it did. It was shown at the Scala, I think.
It won a Golden Rose and Montreux Award as well. So it was very well received.
It was quite interesting showing in Hollywood. I've showed it in Hollywood.
What was their reaction?
Alice Pictures took me out of it. And they said, we love all the stuff in the movie within the movie. Yeah, all that stuff about the making of, I just don't get that. And the interesting thing is that the British audiences laugh when Al says, I want to change the ending of the strike. And the Hollywood people going, yeah, well, of course he's going to change it. It doesn't work. And I was sitting there thinking, how naive, of course he's going to change the ending. Why wouldn't he?
and you were filming up for GLC, obviously you filmed just down the road, we were saying, at the County Hall building. But how was that actually working in the sites? I mean, I think one of you said that you slept over there one night.
Yes, I have a memory of, I mean, this happened quite a lot at the comic strip because we didn't really, I can't remember ever having finish times particularly. We would say to the crew, do you mind if we do another 5 hours? And everybody was up for it. And it was, it was a different time.
The producer said, can you do it in 8 days? And I went, well, and it should have been 10 days, and it wasn't,
Yeah.
We were cramming it into 8 days. For reason I can't remember.
But no one ever minded, that we would work very late. And I remember we did a night shoot or a late night that went to about 2, and we were due back on the set at 8. So this made no sense to go home, so we just slept there on the set. But we were perfectly happy to do that. Nobody
not in bunk beds, I suppose.
Not in bunk beds.
Or in a gas-induced.
Yeah, I suppose. That was a good try, Pete, trying to get rid of us like that.
Turning on the gas.
Epic
All the gas, get rid of
fail.
Are they asleep
Some
yet?
good girls.
They're asleep now.
You wanted new, younger women.
How can I get rid of these 2 bitches? Sorry, I didn't mean that.
You have to be careful nowadays, Pete.
I know.
People take you seriously.
Exactly.
Peter Richardson cancelled at the BFI.
Yes, I cancelled at the BFI.
Like this season's going to cancel at the
Stupid
BFI.
remark about
and you're talking about obviously like getting permits and stuff. And was that just literally kind of naivety, or was that proper kind of just budget and just trying to do what you could on the wing?
Well,
just in terms of not having location permits to film on the Mall.
we did, but no, not on the Mall. No way. No.
But you would have needed a permit.
I think we wouldn't have got it. I don't think.
No. Hence why I asking the question about whether that was naivety or budget
Well, these days, I mean, you'd shoot a plate of the Mall and just put it on a green screen, and you could do it. You couldn't do that kind of thing in those days. You didn't have technology to do those kind of shots. You had to do it in situ. There wasn't much faking.
And you were doing obviously the miners' strike was only a number of years earlier. It wasn't actually. It was very new, and probably still very raw in parts of the country as well. And in both that and also with the GLC, everybody who you were kind of sending up were still alive, both the American actors and then the people who they were playing. Did you ever get any kind of feedback, or was there anything, or any sort of comments from people from America or from the UK?
Did you hear from Margaret Thatcher, Jennifer?
She's
never got in contact.
No, she never said, I love the movie. I love the film.
I mean, did Ken Livingstone talk about it? Did Arthur Scargill talk about it? Well, actually,
the weird thing is that we got a cheque for £5,000 when the film won the war in Switzerland. And we thought,
did we?
We thought. and we thought, well, we can't just like Paul taking the money in the film. We've got to give this money to the mining courses. We went up to Sheffield and gave it to Arthur Scargill, who then spent it on his own bungalow, I think.
Well, that's better than you spending it on crack.
And I'm just wondering, because I know we haven't got a huge amount of time this evening, we have got another show to put on. Should we just do a couple of audience questions? Have we got time to do that? Yeah, of course. Right on the side there, you've got a choice. In fact, you've got 3 hands in a row. If you want to choose one of those, you would be so kind. And then on this side, there's a question on the very, very front row on the aisle here. So let's start off over there, and that's working. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you want to start us off?
Thank you. Really love that, and very nostalgic, of course, for those of us who were, around at the time when those events were actually happening.
Still alive.
Well, I worked at the GLC, and I was part of a miners' support group as well, so all of that stuff. But I was just interested to hear Peter say a moment ago that he showed the strike in Hollywood, because when I was watching that, I was thinking that concept of the screenwriter who thinks he's got integrity but then sells out big time to Hollywood, that's also the theme of The Player, which came out 4 years after the strike. So I'm just wondering if you thought you might have given something away there.
Yeah,
residuals, maybe.
I saw that film. I didn't remember thinking it was like The Strike, but I mean, so it's quite original itself.
That's happened a few times. I mean, Bad News was before Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolute coincidence. Yeah, total coincidence.
Yeah,
I guess if you were truly in tune with Hollywood, you would have sued them by now, wouldn't you? Perhaps we haven't filmed that with either, actually. Move over to this question over this side. Yeah, here we go.
Hi, I remember a film being announced called Five Go to Hell, which was never made. I wonder how close that got to production, and is that something that could still be done?
No, because we then did Five Go to Rehab, which is a similar kind of story, not set in the jungle of Colombia or Venezuela. I went out and did a recce out there.
Was it called Five Go to Hell before?
Yes, it was that one where they went. It was like sort of apocalypse, Five Go Mad in Apocalypse Now kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
So it's quite dark, actually.
When you revisited those characters all those years later, how was it to sort of slip back into?
Quite hard, actually.
It was hard. It was actually better when they were young, I think.
Yeah.
And stupid, rather being rather regretful and changed. And we changed them in hopefully in a humorous way, but it was kind of also had this rather sad sort of feel about it.
I think we probably Josh, how many more questions do we have? One more question, okay. There's a hand right at the front. Have you got somebody already queued up? Or yeah, there's a hand right here on the third row back. Okay, sorry. Okay, don't surround your microphone. We'll do two. We'll do that one and then that one. Then we'll be finished. We'll make them brief.
I'll do it pretty quickly. One of the great things about the comic strip is it's so dense in material and ideas. You know, there's a diamond every sort of second. And I'm not taking anything away from you, Peter, but was there a lot of collaboration and Al Pacino-like contribution of ideas to the making of the films?
Al Pacino never called us.
Or maybe Jennifer.
I mean, Pete wrote fairly tight scripts, and I think writing with the people in mind, he wrote the characters pretty well for all of us, actually. And I'm sure we slid in lines here and there.
We didn't do much rehearsing.
We didn't do much rehearsing, so
Just
it was pretty
talked
much
a bit.
turn up, know it.
But everyone was so funny. I mean, brilliant. I thought everyone was brilliant in that.
Everyone just tried to be as
Looking
funny
again, I
as
saw how good
possible
they
and
were.
get to the pub early.
Collaborative.
Okay, and we have our final question just over here.
You said earlier that you've never had an argument, but I know different. Have you ever had an argument with Peter?
I have.
at all?
I don't think I can repeat the whole thing here, and Pete refutes it anyway.
Okay.
But we did have a bit of an argument on Susie about the last lines in Susie, which I did not want to say, and Pete did want me to say it, and we had a robust debate, a physical robust debate.
I've got the script. I'll bring the script out.
And how did that end? I mean, in terms of were the lines spoken?
I urge you to see that film, and you will see at the very end of the film. I do a prolonged smile to camera instead of the line.
It's difficult.
I gave Pete an editing problem.
Well, I'm delighted to have been no fisticuffs tonight, almost, but no fisticuffs tonight.
We've got over it, I think. Well, I have.
Peter's coming back with Nigel Planer later on to Bad News Tour and Churchill, the Hollywood years. But for now, we're over time. But a big thank you to Peter Richardson, Jennifer Saunders.